Welcome back to today's episode of Mobility Monday. I'm Jeff Blanchard and I'm coming to you from Salem, Oregon from Therapeutic Associates to share some ideas to help you decrease that pain, to keep you moving. And Bart is sharing the same thing up from his office in Seattle. Today's topic is about when your back goes out, where does it go? So this is a common phrase, my back went out. But I think that the question is, what does that mean? What does it mean when my back goes out? So I think a lot of people oftentimes assume that, well, my back went out, so my joints must be locked up, so I must need to get my spine cracked or popped in order to get my back moving again because I'm out. So the truth of that is really typically when the back has gone out, usually what has happened is there has been a movement that's taken place that has caused improper movement to occur at the spine, and then the muscles go into spasm. So usually when your back has gone out, you can't move very well through that area because your muscles are in spasm. So there's primarily two things that happen when the back goes out. So one thing will be that joints can get a little bit off track. So the analogy that I give patients is if you've ever played with a train on tracks. When I was a kid, I had a lot of plastic tracks and plastic trains, and I would roll my trains on these tracks. Well, if one of the four wheels was off the track and then you tried to roll the train, it didn't roll very well. So if your joint gets a little bit stuck in the spine, then that's going to cause that spinal segment to not move very well. That's what we call a fixated joint or a fixated segment. So that would be an example of a back or neck or something being out because that joint is not moving very well because it's a little bit offset and a little bit stuck. The other scenario I wanted to share with you is I'm going to use some props. Okay, so I have two boxes of rubber gloves, but this is just going to be an example of your spine. So your spine is made out of multiple bones that are kind of like a tower of blocks. So here's one bone and here's another bone. So these are an example of vertebrae. So if you're going to bend forward, your vertebrae should bend like this in a forward manner. If you're going to bend backwards, your vertebrae should bend back this direction. Or if you're going to go side to side, it should go like this, or rotate, or a combination of the three, which might be like this, or like this, or like this. So the spine is built to move in three planes of motions, all those planes of motion. However, sometimes what happens is the spine doesn't move in those natural planes. The spine moves in an unnatural plane. So this is what we call shear. So shear force is not really a natural physiological force that should occur through the joint. But what happens is if we're moving in improper ways, or if the joints are kind of loosey-goosey, or if the discs have degenerated to a point where the bones are closer together and there's more slip-slop going on in there, then things will tend to slide the wrong way. And then what happens? Your muscles go into spasm, it locks everything down, and it feels like your back went out. So an example might be, let's say I drop my pen on the ground and I'm going to go pick it up. And I'm going to lean over and pick my pen up and do that in this rotational manner. Basically what's just happened is this. And maybe there's more laxity or looseness in a certain direction for the spine, and in another direction, it's fine. So you might lean to the left and be fine, but if you lean to the right, things are a little bit too sloppy and it goes too far. When it goes too far, your muscles grab and things pinch, and then your back goes out. So you get to the point where you feel like it locks up. So to help prevent that shear force from occurring, I would suggest that you go back and watch one of my previous episodes about the low back safety zone and how movement through that safety zone can help keep things in a better position. So if you are bending and moving in this way, you're more likely to fold through the spine in a proper manner And instead of combining all those planes of motion and go into like these twisting motions. That's why oftentimes people, they end up hurting their backs, usually when they do a twisting motion. It's combining all those planes of movement, and then they have the weight of the body, and if they're carrying excess weight around their middle, that's even more force that goes through those spinal segments, and it's more likely that you're going to have that shear that creates that pain where your back goes out. If you're bending in this direction here, you're more likely to keep things in alignment. So let's go to loading a dishwasher. So with loading a dishwasher, you could be at your sink if your dishwasher's here to the side, and you could rinse a fork and put a fork in the dishwasher and rinse a plate and put a plate in the dishwasher. But every time I'm doing that, I'm getting into that rotation. So every time I'm doing that, that spine is shearing to the one side and shearing to the one side. So if this is your case scenario, it would be better to have you rinse the dishes that are there, set them on the countertop, and then turn your body, and then you can load the dishwasher. In future episodes, we'll talk a little bit about how to strengthen your core in such a way to create more stability. So if things are shifting the wrong way, you can have a stronger muscle core around those spinal segments, and so there's less of that motion that occurs. Back to my first scenario that I talked about where the joint gets stuck. So that's the case scenario where maybe you reach for a cup and you're like, and then you can't move your neck backwards at all because it feels like it's just locked up. And with those scenarios, what you can try to do is you can try to do some stretching over a foam roll, or you could use a towel around your neck and try working on doing some neck stretching with a towel. I'll give you a quick demonstration. All right, so here's my towel. If you have, let's say, your neck and you feel like you got a crick in it, you can't move it back this way very well, you can try this technique. So you're going to take your towel and place it back behind your head, and then you're going to pull up in this direction, and then you're going to work on coming back and see if you can get the towel right over the spot that's tight or stuck, and see if you can get that segment to start to move back in that direction. If it feels not too bad, I think that's something that you can do. If it's really pinchy and very painful, don't do it, obviously. Sometimes you'll get a little click, and then that's it. That little click is just that little wheel of the train setting back on the train track in the right way, and then your mobility returns. Thanks for joining me today for this episode of Mobility Monday. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also share this channel with your friends and family, especially if you know that they've been complaining about their back going out. Hey, this is a way for you to help out your friends and family. Share this with them, and so it'll help them know what to do. And if you have further questions, just come on and see us. So remember, until next time, motion is lotion.